All right, I wanted to demo a tool that I worked on quite a while ago now. I did it as a personal project. At the time, I had gotten into image manipulation and image processing, and I wanted to see what I could do with that inside of a 3D tool like 3ds Max um, to generate a 3D pixelated version of that image. It's kind of difficult to explain, so you'll see here in a second. But based on the parameters you give it, like the grid size, whether or not to use the image's original aspect ratio. Scale based is in there as an option, but this is really the only version of this I use. And then this allows you to the multiplier allows you to increase the effect, and then you can cut all the black values out so that you end up with more of an object instead of this bed of flat boxes, which will make more sense here in a second. So we'll go ahead and give it an image just to see what it does. You can see it takes a few seconds and then it generates this 3D version of that image that we gave it. We'll actually take the grid size up here a little bit. Let's increase the scale just a little bit too. And we will turn this off just because I think it might give us some areas where they'll have gaps in this wave. So we'll delete this, we'll run it one more time. And the bigger the grid size, the longer it'll take to process. So you can see the effect. This isn't the most interesting example, but it shows what's happening behind the scenes. So we'll actually test it on something a little more interesting. I have a bunch of things in here to mess around with. I've had a lot of success with a few of these, like this one, I think. So we'll keep the same settings, run it again. Oh, we need to turn this off. But you can see what, when it has that flat bed of boxes, it almost looks like that old toy from back in the day when you'd push your hand in the back and it would push all the needles forward, which is a pretty interesting effect. Not an overly useful tool for anything other than maybe 3D printing, creating interesting objects to 3D print. The only other thing I thought might be interesting to do with this is maybe generating some kind of level design. I mean, the tool doesn't model it to the greatest of modeling standards. It essentially just duplicates a bunch of boxes. But we can see what we can do here. Let's take this up. The more detail there is in an image, the higher the grid size you'll want, but taking up too high will add more geometry to the scene, so it may lag out. We'll give it this. I don't want to skip the black values because you can see this is the one I want to give it. Doesn't look like there's anything solid black, but just in case. And let's take the multiplier up to just to enhance the effect. Give it 10 and we'll give it this image, and it's going to take quite a while compared to the other examples just because of how big the image is. There we go, that wasn't too bad. But you can see what it can do. It's generating these like a level almost in one of these pixel type games that you see a lot of these days. But yeah, that's pretty much what it does. Like I said, not the most useful thing ever. It's more of an exercise to see what I could do with image processing. You do, for something like this, I did have to have the third-party Python library OpenCV or CV2 installed to do the image processing. I'm not sure if it was popping up or not. I don't think it was. But usually there's this image. You can see what it creates behind the scenes is an image like this, and then it takes the grayscale values and converts that into vertical scale. So we'll give it one more here just to see what we can generate. We'll take this back down to like 70. And the scale multiplier and the grid size are kind of tied together. You don't want it to stay too high if you're bringing your grid size up or down. Let's take it to 6. We'll give it the stuff from the top down doesn't come out too great. Let's give it the teddy bear. Oh, and I need to turn that skip black values back on. Yeah, it takes quite a while the longer or the bigger the grid size is. So let's get rid of that. Yeah, it's a lot of geometry just dumped into the scene all at once. Let's take this down a little more. Leave our scale. Actually, let's take this to 7. We have our skip black values on. And so you can see it creates this really interesting pixelated 3D object. I actually have it set up too to render. Let me position this a little better. It's a really rough scene to show, you know, a little bit better how the 3D object looks. So yeah, pretty simple, pretty useless, but an interesting effect nonetheless. That's pretty much it. Thanks for watching.